Another June day, another defensive commit for your Michigan State Spartans. Plus, let's get to know the new crop of visitors coming up to East Lansing this weekend.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning into Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below. Give us your early thoughts on Michigan State versus UCLA. Now, I know that might sound like a weird question here, but hey, guys, so far this offseason, we're going game by game, getting a really early look at Michigan State's football opponents for this upcoming fall. Right now, if you're watching on YouTube, you could probably tell this is a road recording right now. This is not the home studio, but for segments 2 and 3, we are back in the home studio with Locked On UCLA to break down this game because, we're just going through the whole schedule, seeing which team got better, seeing what the stakes will be. But right now, kicking off the show, we got to talk Michigan State football recruiting because, guys, on Tuesday, Cory House, all 6'5", 240 pounds of him, defensive end from Memphis. He commits to Michigan State, and this comes off the heels of not a Michigan State visit, but an Iowa visit last weekend. He did visit East Lansing to start this June. Big official visit month, but even after visiting the Hawkeye program, his heart was still in East Lansing, so he made it official on Tuesday, committing to the Spartans here. It wasn't just Iowa. Memphis, his hometown Memphis, we should say, was also somewhat in the mix here. Indiana was trying to get a visit out of him too, but hey, it will be the Spartans for the number 65 edge, according to Rivals. So this kid, pretty squarely a 3-star player, but his playing style is something that I think a lot of Spartan fans will appreciate here. He's everything that you're going to want in that defensive end position. He's got a mean streak to him. He's got physicality. It looks like, I don't have the wingspan numbers, but it looks like he has some reach too to get to the offensive lineman earlier on. So he also plays a lot of stand-up edge for his high school. They go with a lot of 4-man, if not 5-man fronts in many situations, and very rarely, if ever, in any highlight film that I watched of him, does he have his hand in the dirt. So he's up, coming off the edge, coming from a runner stance. So, he's definitely going to be comfortable at that edge position. And also, I got to say, with the run defense as well, he's set contained pretty well on the run from all the highlights that I saw. So, welcome Cory House to the 2026 class. And, guys, this is all that Michigan State has been doing in June, is just getting defensive players, because when this calendar flipped to this month, they had 0 commits to the 2026 class on the defensive side of the ball. Now they have 6 guys on defense, 10 overall in this 2026 class. So let's just take a quick look at the position group here, because it's not like they got a lot of defensive ends or edge guys from last year, right? Like, it was Cal Thrush last year. Hard stop at that. I mean, that's pretty much where we netted things out for the 2025 class. It was just Cal, who's like, the lower 3-star kid. We'll see if anything's going to come about in his career here in East Lansing. But outside of him, they do have some young guys that got in the transfer portal. Anelu Lafayette, the former 4-star that didn't play a single snap at Wisconsin, but hopefully there's some untapped potential there. Now, David Santiago, he comes in as a redshirt sophomore next season, so I'm kind of towing the line of what Yun and what Yun won't be in 2026, because he'll be a redshirt junior. But there's not a lot of traction going around with this position of need here lately, but it is nice that they at least got David House. Now, will he be the only edge, the only defensive end of this class? I hope not, and I think the staff also thinks they hope not. I think they plan on taking at least 2 guys in this class, but right now, this is where it's at with David House. Cory House, excuse me, guys. Now, overall, the class for Michigan State ranked 45th overall. Now, you can take that one of 2 ways. You could say, hey, you know what, there's a long way to go. They're still only at 10 kids, and you can say that because, hey, this is still a better class right now on paper than Alabama has. That's right, Michigan State, according to Rivals, still 1 spot ahead of Alabama. They're actually also 5 ahead of Florida, too. But with only being 10 kids, you know that this is not going to last forever, because Alabama's going to get more kids. Florida's going to get more kids. And it seems to be, with the level of kids that Michigan State is getting, mostly being these 3-star kids, they will be jumped. But for now, you're 45th. but you are ahead of some pretty impressive schools, so go ahead and throw the parade on Grand River for that, I suppose. Now, let's talk about other guys that are in the mix here, because Carter Gooden, he was that top 100 player, high 4-star kid. He visited campus not too long ago, about a week and a half ago now, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly. Yes, he's still in the mix, but again, this is a kid that has taken 8 official visits. Seems to be that it'll be hard to pry him away from the East Coast, namely Boston College, perhaps, and then also Tyson Harley, still in the mix for Michigan State, too. This is another 4-star kid or a highly rated 3-star, depending on what recruiting site you look at, but he is still very much in the mix for Michigan State here. Now, guys, we're going to get to know one more edge guy amongst a few other visitors this upcoming weekend because, yes, of course, it's a June weekend. Of course, there's going to be a good crop of official visitors coming to campus here, and 2 of them kicking things off are already committed to the 2026 class. We're talking Joey Caudle, tight end, and then a 3-star offensive tackle, Eli Bickle from the great state of Michigan. So outside of that, who do we got? Well, there's another offensive lineman from the state of Michigan that I do want to highlight right now, and this is offensive tackle. Well, he plays offensive tackle in high school. He's probably going to be interior offensive lineman in college, but Khalief Canty. Now, this kid's recruitment has just shot up big time, both in offers and also where he is ranked on Rivals 24/7, wherever you look, because this kid, he shed a lot of weight. He has just an awesome streak of camps here in the spring. So it's Khalief Canty, who is now a top 200 kid, according to Rivals, from Cass Tech right there in the great city of Detroit. So he was also on Twitter today, guys, on this Wednesday, saying that, hey, he's got a commitment date because things have changed, with a few eyeball emojis too. Now, that can mean anything to a high school kid. In the world of recruiting, I have no idea if that's good or bad news for Michigan State. But what we do know is that he will be committing somewhere on June 23rd. Now, that could be good news for Michigan State because, hey, that's not too far away from this weekend's official visit. That's only 10 days after. Okay, Michigan State's still fresh in his mind. Now, the bad news is that he still plans on taking this official visit to Mizzou, which, depending on who you listen to and who you read and who you talk to, Mizzou is and was, possibly still is, the team to beat in this recruitment. So when he leaves Mizzou, 2 days later will be his commitment date. So let's see if Michigan State can do what they're going to try to do, get him to commit on the spot and cancel these other official visits. But that's where we're at right now. Khalief Canty still visiting Michigan State, incoming commitment date. But yeah, Mizzou still on the table. But God, that'd be such a nice get for Michigan State here just to get a 4-star at a position of need. Offensive line, you got to protect the quarterback. You got to commit to the run game here. So please just get Canty's commitment. Anyway, guys, all right, let's go. There's other kids to talk about. 3-star edge, another edge out of this guy out of Louisiana, Chris Addison out of Winsboro, Louisiana, a small town in northern Louisiana. Top 600 kid. So he would be amongst the best, if not the best commit of Michigan State's class should he commit to the Spartans here. But 6'3", 250 pounds. Had a pretty productive season last year in 12 games. He had 8.5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles. Now, Michigan State, not the only team in the mix here. He's already visited Mississippi State. He's already visited UCLA, and he will also visit Tulane after he visits East Lansing. So Chris Addison, another edge guy to keep on your radar here. And now going back to the great state of Michigan, 3-star athlete, although he projects as a wide receiver, Samson Gash. Now, the last name might sound familiar to you because his brother Caleb does play at Michigan State, but Samson Gash, I mean, this kid is Sonic the Hedgehog, man. 6 feet, 180 pounds, top 50 receiver out of Catholic Central right there in Detroit, or Novi, wherever that technically is. Guys, he is a speedster. He has a state record in Michigan in the 100-meter dash at a smooth 10.41. That is blistering, and that's why he's labeled an athlete. He can play receiver. He can return kicks. He can play some running back if you need him to. You can put him wherever you need speed. And then, guys, the last one we're going to highlight here for visitors this weekend is Rayshawn Elmore, 6'2" wide receiver, 185 pounds from North Carolina. Now, Michigan State, by far, the biggest brand name that he's visiting so far this June. He's visited Charlotte, East Carolina, Liberty, and then, Michigan State kind of stands out like a sore thumb here. No disrespect to those other great programs, but yeah, there's a little bit of a step up from those guys I just listed off here. So other recruiting notes really quick because, we've mentioned a few of these guys' names. It's only nice that we complete the full circle here. And it's not necessarily great news for Michigan State. Nelson Wheeler, he's a speedster running back out of Nebraska. He was going to visit pretty soon here. Not anymore. He committed to Illinois. So Michigan State continues to get shoved in a locker when it comes to recruiting running backs for this class, because not too long ago, hey, Michael Dukes, out of MLK in Detroit, he's committed to Toledo. We're going to get him on campus until Rutgers got his commitment and he canceled his visit here. So now it's Nelson Wheeler committed to Illinois. You already saw Corey Amakri commit to Kansas. So real good things happening in running back recruiting right now for Michigan State. And I get it. You could always get a guy out of the transfer portal. Oh, they might try to flip Amakri later. We're here to talk about the then and now. And right now, this is what's happening for running back recruiting. Also, guys, 2 safeties no longer visiting. Desirian Ellis, who's a highly rated 3-star kid, he's no longer visiting this weekend. He's going to Tulane instead. And then Xavier Jackson, he's going to go to North Carolina instead. Now, this could be because with Michigan State just getting the commitments of Elijah Caldwell-Hardy and then Braden Thomas, hey, those are 2 safeties. They might be seeing the writing on the wall saying, all right, well, MSU's got their 2 safeties. Time to go find a different home for a school that needs safeties right now. So if you want to paint it that way, by all means, go for it. If you just want to say, well, they're going to greener pastures like North Carolina and Tulane, I suppose, sure, your prerogative. I'm not going to lose much sleep on it. So, all right, guys, that's the 411 on recruiting. We're going to get to talking with our guy, Zach Anderson Yaxheimer of Locked On UCLA. But first, we need to talk everyone's ears off about Monarch Money. Now, guys, you ever check your bank account and wonder, now hold on, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it is easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Now, Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center, so you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money, and you start building that wealth. Guys, it is so convenient, all in one spot. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Again, guys, monarchmoney.com. Yes, guys, this Week 7 Game 6 matchup between the Spartans and the Bruins. It's still for a few months right now, but what better time to check in on each team this offseason than, well, right now. What's up, everyone? It's Matt Sheehan over at Locked On Spartans. And over there, that strapping drink of water, that is Zach Anderson Yaxheimer of Locked On UCLA. And, Zach, we're going to talk how we got better this offseason, what's going to be at stake for this matchup here. But first, we got to talk about the most important thing with this one. This is the kickoff time because, hey, for us Michigan State fans, it's exciting. First noon game in 2 years here. We've been the primetime Spartans here last year, Zach. That's all that people know about us. But for you guys, you West Coast elite, it's a 9 a.m. kickoff. Zach, I got to know, the Eggos haven't even popped out of the toaster yet by the time this game kicks off. Is this a roll of the eyes for you guys, or are you anywhere, any place, anytime kind of fan base? What have you, Zach?
Well, I don't know if the UCLA fan base is an anywhere, anytime fan base because that's been proven otherwise. But I am the type of fan that is.
Okay.
But I would take the beauty about being a West Coast-based sports fan, sports lover. Mm-hmm. I love the 9 a.m. kickoff. I don't have to wait till noon.
Wow, interesting.
Until if the 9 a.m. kickoff was here, then and I had to go to the game at 9 a.m., that's a no. But if all I have to do is roll out of bed and it's 9 a.m. and I turn on the television, that's a dream come true. Obviously, college game day starting at 6 is a little rough, and then you have to work your way into that. But for me, I've grown up, all those things. Anything that starts at 9 a.m. and it's a sporting event till 10 p.m., that's fine. What's a struggle on the West Coast is we're not used to these 8 p.m. kickoffs. So when they play Week 1 against Utah, as hot as it will be in Pasadena, because people realize the Rose Bowl is not beautiful every day of the year like it is on New Year's Day. Sure. It can get hot in August. An 8 p.m. kickoff is a little brutal. But I'll take a 9 a.m. kickoff that I watch on TV any day of the week.
You're just built for this. Look at you. Just Big Ten tough already over there, Zach. So let's talk about what's at stake here for this game, because this is what I've been doing over here at Locked On Spartans, going week by week. And it's been easier to answer these questions of what's at stake early on in the season when we can figure out that, hey, MSU most likely 1-0 going into this Boston College game. But here we are. Middle of the season gets a little murky. We're going to have injuries we don't know about. Some teams are going to be a lot better or worse than we think. But luckily for us, Zach, I know that our teams are going to be undefeated going into this game. So that right there is what's at stake first and foremost. But if for some reason you don't think both these teams will be undefeated. Like, what is on the line for your Bruins right here in this mid-October matchup on the road?
Well, UCLA's win total is about 5.5. So this is really, if either team wants to be bowl eligible or if they want to shock everybody, then winning this game is a must for either Sparty or for the Bruins. You have to win this game. For, Michigan State, obviously a home game, a noon kick. You want to hope that somewhat cross-country travel and an early kick would stymie the Bruins, although UCLA did that so many times last year. I'm not sure that's going to be out of Deshaun Foster's wheelhouse in year 2, where you're going to LSU in the heat, you're going to Rutgers, you're going across the country, many 9 a.m. kickoffs. So that shouldn't be a problem. For UCLA, they'll be coming off the Penn State game, which will be the true measuring stick. I think UCLA has a good chance, a realistic chance, to go 3-1, 4-0 to start the season. They got Utah at home.
Yep.
You don't know what's happening there. You'll only be on the road, Mexico, then at Northwestern, with a bye mixed in to then host Penn State. So the big game will be the Penn State game prior to the Michigan State game at home. Now, will they have 1 or 2 losses? And if they're trying to win a bowl game, the schedule kind of gets a little tougher at the back end for UCLA. Winning that Sparty game is like, hey, you have to win it. What about for Michigan State side?
Our schedule is friendlier than it was last year. Like, we open up 3 straight games at home. It's Western Michigan, Boston College, Youngstown State. I expect to go 3-0. Boston College isn't some walkover team, and it's a game that Michigan State has to win there. And then after that, it is 3 road games in a 4-game stretch. And to the surprise of no one, because we're talking about it right now, this is the one home game that is shoved into all those road games. So we're on the road at USC, then a bye week, then it's at Nebraska, and then after this UCLA game, it's at Indiana. And yeah, you can beat all those 3 teams I just named, the Trojans, the Huskers, the Hoosiers. Sure, they will be underdogs in these games, though, at least on paper right now. So if you want to, hey, at least give yourself some reprieve in what could be a tough-ish stretch of the schedule here. It's got to come right here against UCLA. I mean, especially with what we just talked about, a 9 a.m. kickoff to the body clock. A UCLA team that, talent-wise and what Vegas is projecting, very similar to where you are right now, because you talked about your 5.5. Over here in Spartan Country, we got the same number dealt over here. It's 5.5. So, yeah, in a 12-game regular season, and we all know this, we talk about these games as if every one is a must-win. This one's got a little bit of extra seasoning on it, though, because this can be the game that when you look back in December, hey, we're in a bowl game because of this game, or hey, we're on our couch watching every other team play in a bowl game except ours for the 4th straight season, possibly because of this coin flip game. And that's just what it is, a coin flip right now. I checked the S&P Plus numbers, and if the game kicked off today, Sparty's like 1.5-point favorites right now, so it is going to be a flip of the coin here. But, Zach, you guys had a fascinating offseason. And were all your prayers answered because of Nico? Oh, God, here I am. Okay, I'm going to try this last name. I've only heard it 1,000 times this offseason. Nico Iamaleava.
Iamaleava, yes. There we go. Nico Iamaleava. We'll just go with Nico for now. It was interesting because, you have the early, as we call it, early winter portal, and UCLA got a quarterback. They lost 3 offensive weapons, one at the quarterback position. That could have been the guy in waiting. Justin Martin left. You had multiple offensive weapons leave. And then all of a sudden, UCLA was like, okay, let's change offensive coordinator. So Tino Sunseri was, I thought, a great hire, a great flip from Eric Bieniemy, because that was pretty much the bottom after last year's offensive performance in 2024. Yeah. Now you bring in Aguilar, who was supposed to be more of a gunslinging threat with the JUCO year given back to these guys from App State. And then everything got crazy in April. You're like, wait. Oh, Nico coming to UCLA. I was like, okay, I don't know about this. And then out of nowhere, you get Nico. You get his brother. You get another transfer quarterback. Yeah. They're looking at 2026. They're overhauling the entire staff, offensively and defensively, outside of the defensive coordinator. Most of these assistants have changed over. They've fortified some positions of weakness, and Nico is certainly more talented than Joey Aguilar. He's more talented than Ethan Garbers was. Now, there are question marks. UCLA is not as talented as a playoff caliber Tennessee team was in 2024. Can they protect him? We'll find out. But he's clearly a step up. Obviously, the big question is, can they handle the noise from outside, right? What happens if he doesn't like it after a year? What happens if something goes wrong? If, something's going weird, if an NIL deal falls through? Although now with the ruling, it might be a little different with the settlement. So maybe you can't complain as much, or there'll be a watchdog that can change. There won't be a situation, I think, like Nico's as much in the future as there was in the spring. Does he fix everything? No. But did he push that 4.5 to a 5.5? He did. So There is an impact. I just don't know what it's going to look like with him having to learn a new offense in a summer with a new offensive coordinator, with a whole new team, and no spring practice. That's a lot. Now, by week 6, week 7, that won't be a problem. But that will be a big building block heading into this game.
And so obviously, like Nico, like he answers the question. We all know how solid of a talent that he is. I mean, despite, all the play calling and the new offense, everything like that. But he's also just one of, I think it's 31 additions you guys had out of the transfer portal I read on 24/7 Sports. Obviously, there's a lot of question marks going on right now. But is there any other position group that you feel pretty firmly, yes, they did get better in this area? Or is it just such a gong show over there that you really don't know the answer until you face the New Mexicos and the UNLVs of the world to start the season here?
I mean, we won't really know for sure until they strap it up and they're playing Utah and they're putting in some work against these actual FBS teams. UNLV will be a fascinating play when they play against Dan Mullen's UNLV Rebel squad. That'll be interesting. Right. But the biggest position group was the secondary, right? The safeties, the DBs. UCLA, if you look and you're like, wait, how many safeties did they get in the offseason via the portal and via this incoming freshman class with an overhaul of the coaching staff at that position or positions? There's so many guys coming in. Because the last couple of years, the defense was led by the D-line, Latu and company. And then last year's defense was a large in part success because Carson Schlesinger became a household name, Kay Medrano. It was a lot of the linebackers. Those guys are gone, mostly graduated. UCLA is probably going to struggle in some regards in some of those positions. Some guys will return from injury from a year or two ago, but that's where the holes are. But the secondary was okay. They went and got a bazillion guys in the secondary. So if you're going to try and throw, maybe UCLA could intercept it 30 times. That's, I think, the big position group UCLA fortified and restocked in this most recent offseason outside of quarterback.
That's interesting because that's a similar situation right here at Michigan State. We added a lot in the secondary because we had to. Like, our starting safeties, they're pretty much set in stone right now, but our corners, I didn't pretty much no one returned from last season except a few young guys, so they had to go out and get a bunch of young talent there. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you want to look at it here, that wasn't the only position group that needed a total overhaul. Like the wide receiver group, it was Nick Marsh and then Alante Brown, who's hurt every 12 snaps. He came back too. We had to go out and pretty much redo the entire receiver core, which, from what I've heard out of spring practice, and you know how it goes with the spring practice rumors, like they don't always come to fruition. But we've heard good things about Omari Kelly, who transferred from Middle Tennessee State. So, okay, maybe this could be a step up here. They had to not redo, but they had to fine-tune their offensive line here in East Lansing. We had to add 2 big transfers because that was an issue, not just for the run game. Never got off the ground here in East Lansing, Zach. It was dire times.
Yeah, I think the big thing is the running game never really went anywhere for UCLA either. Now, it's funny to see which team can run the ball right in Big Ten play. You got to be physical. You got to be able to run the ball later in the year. College football isn't as big when it comes to cold weather football, although I guess the CFP and home games might play later. Obviously, maybe not for these two teams, but cold weather running the football might make a big difference. What are your thoughts on your second year coach and Jonathan Smith and what that quarterback situation is looking like?
I'm optimistic about it. Largely in part, it's a 2-answer thing. Number one is the easy one. It's just the raw talent that Aiden Childs does have. He has a very powerful arm. He has legs that they started to utilize at the end of last season, and he did well with those legs, whether it was extending plays or whether it was design runs. He is a talented quarterback that is still it's got the turnover bug with him. He still has a few things to learn. The accuracy wasn't all there, but I think he grew enough last season. So that's one reason I'm optimistic. The other one is, and this has just been the rallying cry here on Locked On Spartans this whole summer, is that everywhere around him, my God, he really has no excuse to at least generate an average offense. Now, listen to what I said. I didn't say top 3 offense, Zach. I didn't say, hey, we're going to stun the world and hang up 42 points a game. Just for the first time in a long time in East Lansing, I want to see a team that can score over, 24 points a game or just hang around somewhere in the middle of the Big Ten because retooled the offensive line. They bolstered the receivers, but it's not just, hey, who he's going to be playing with. They brought in his quarterbacks coach, John Boyer, from Oregon State. And that's also not just going to make Aiden Childs a little more comfortable in this huddle and in the locker room, learning everything, but it gets the offensive coordinator, Brian Lindgren, more time to really just focus on other areas of the game other than split time with installing an offense, game planning. Also, hey, raising this young, raw quarterback into being a solid player here. So with the limits of coaches lifted, Michigan State has taken advantage of that. So between his teammates, between the personnel changes that they've made on the staff, boy, all the excuses really fly out the window if he isn't at least like a solid quarterback this year. I think he can be better than solid, but man, the bar's just got to be, don't go out and cost us games and look completely lost the entire season. Is that too much to ask for? I think I'm being reasonable with that.
I mean,
that or not.
Yeah, I think reasonable quarterback not throwing pick sixes. UCLA fans were used to that 2 years ago with Dante Moore, bunch of pick sixes with a great defense, and last year not protecting their quarterback. But just have somebody else make the problems. Don't let it be the quarterback.
I want to keep it with the coaches here, though, because, hey, just like us, you guys headed into year 2 to Deshaun Foster. Now, a lot of us got to know him from an infamous clip at the Big Ten Media Days, where it wasn't the greatest intro press conference, and for many Big Ten fans, I'm sure Michigan State fans are, in this boat too. That's their only image that they have of the guy. Didn't look like he was comfortable. He looked kind of lost. Was that just a bad moment for him? Are you sold on Deshaun Foster, or are you seeing a guy that is a little in over his head going into year 2?
Deshaun Foster is not the guy who likes to talk in front of people. I mean, at least in that regard, right? That's not his thing. Maybe he didn't know. Sometimes, you go to a big event, right? You're like, oh, you have to have speech prepared, right? And you're like, what?
Excuse me?
It's like this. You're like, excuse me. And the way it looked was so strange too. It's like him, and it's a huge stadium, and you're just
massive,
like there, and you're just there with like 15 people in front of you, and you're just like, what is this? So, and he's not the most loquacious fella. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, Chip Kelly would give us some zingers, and he was roasting the portal and NIL and how that works. But he wasn't the most media friendly. I think Deshaun Foster, from what I've seen, looks a little bit easier to work with, but he's not the most quotable guy. But when I talked about it then, when he made that infamous line, "We are from LA," its action can speak louder than words. And "we are from LA" means you can go recruit the local area and put together a good football team. Honestly, Chip Kelly decided to stop doing that for whatever reason. Clearly, he was everything out the door. And Deshaun Foster is, I am rooted here. This is my home. This is my place. This is my school. It's like getting vaulted to maybe a dream job you never realized you wanted, but he gets. And where else would he want to go after UCLA? This is like his spot. And, he wants to take his alma mater to new heights. And what he's done in recruiting, make noise, get haters, because he says he wants the haters. So there's a quote from Deshaun Foster by getting the Nico, spending the money to get Nico, overhauling the staff, getting a young mind after Eric Bieniemy. He knows what UCLA needed to be they needed to have addressed in the offseason. And I think he's mostly done that from one offseason to the next in only one full year of coaching and a true recruiting cycle. Mm-hmm. Right, like their 2026 recruiting cycle, at this moment that we're recording this, they just got a kid from Florida who's got no SoCal ties as an offensive lineman with Ohio State and Alabama in on the guy. Like, when does UCLA win that recruiting battle for Micah Smith? That's a huge, huge get for UCLA in the O-line. So as much as we say they weren't running the ball as well, they're going out and making strides locally, nationally, and reestablishing those relationships. So he's not going to be the funniest guy in the room with a microphone in the media. But his actions speak a lot louder with what he's trying to do, engaging the fan base, social media-wise. He's much younger than Chip Kelly, and he just cares more about this specific place. And that's what you want in your head coach, and why I'm excited to see him potentially grow in year 2. How about your guy?
I like Jonathan Smith, but you know what? Like, I'm not as, I guess, brave enough to scream from the mountaintops that, like, he is the guy. I still am on the side of, like, yes, I think it will work here. But, man, it's the recruiting here, because you mentioned, hey, you got a lineman from Florida. You beat Ohio State for him. And, Zach, we just got a guy from Florida. The school we had to beat for him, though, Florida Atlantic. So, and that's kind of not – okay, it's not always like we're just beating other group of 5 schools, but the teams that we are beating, it's not necessarily the Alabamas of the world or the Ohio States. And I know that it's going to be a slower process under Jonathan Smith here than people would like, of course. We saw how long it took at Oregon State. But, man, I also can't just look at recruiting, what's going on right now, and just, hey, we lost a kid to Kansas who's 20 minutes away from campus, and just, like, whistle by that graveyard and say, oh, it's all okay, it's fine, right? Because it might not be if the recruiting never gets picked up. Yes, games are decided on the field, but they start on the recruiting trail. And, hey, you can go out and get transfers, of course. Okay, you need transfer guys to supplement what you got out of high school recruiting. So, yes, I am still confident. He's done it at Oregon State. He's a smart football mind. Let's see what happens in year 2, not just under Jonathan Smith, but Aiden Childs. But, yeah, I'm starting to understand why some people were a little bit reluctant to just, hop on this boat as fast as I was. So,
the funny thing is, these are 2 programs. The problem that UCLA had, Chip Kelly left. And one of the guys that you could have gone after if you're UCLA was Jonathan Smith.
100%.
It's funny because it's like, if Chip Kelly left or if UCLA decided to fire Chip, Jonathan Smith was probably on that list.
Like no
more
doubt.
So than Deshaun Foster. So it's funny seeing where has UCLA come now with Foster versus where they could have been with Smith. Obviously 2 different situations. One guy who probably saw firsthand the good and the bad about UCLA, and then you got Jonathan Smith who's like, did he really want to leave the West Coast? But he got a big pay raise, got a big opportunity at Michigan State.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's not a bad gig for him. And it's just funny to see how the 2 programs are going. I'm not sure if they're in different directions, just where they're heading in their path.
Yeah, we're both in fascinating times right here, hand in hand, year 2 coaches, the trying times of the ever-changing landscape of college sports, of course, but
Ornery head basketball coaches, so it's like...
Yeah, you know what? That's so funny because, you know what? Let's take a hard pivot right now to end this. Let's talk basketball because that was the most fascinating thing of the basketball offseason. Not that, Trey Holloman, our captain, left the team after 3 years here, this and that. It's that Xavier Booker, everyone knew that he was kind of leaving. Like, this wasn't working out here. But he just went to go play for Tom Izzo, but 20 years younger. When I said the kid could have used a different change of scenery, I didn't mean just go to a guy with even more energy than Tom, but the same coaching style. Are you as perplexed about that as I am, or are you seeing the vision here for Xavier Booker and Mick Cronin meeting up and making this happen here?
Well, UCLA is pretty desperate at the center position. They do not have a 5, and I think the lineup is going to look like Donovan Dent, the incoming transfer from New Mexico, who's supposed to solve a lot of problems. Sky Clark in year 2 at UCLA will be Gray as the 2. And then they're going to shift Daly from the 4 to the 3 and Bilodeau from the 5 to the 4, and that leaves an opening. UCLA got Booker. They got another center from the University of San Diego, not Magoon from San Diego State, who stayed. The University of San Diego's Stephen Jamerson. And then you have another guy coming in who I don't expect to play as much. So they really didn't address their center position, considering a Daimata left. They lost William Kyle III, any of which could have helped this team at the 5, despite their limitations or whatever was going on. So I think Booker's probably like, you know what? I want an opportunity, UCLA. And the Bruins can offer playing time. Now, Mick Cronin, like Tom Izzo, probably doesn't guarantee that. But if you also look at the roster outlook, it's like, well, they need somebody, and I can develop. And Cronin likes unique players at the center spot. He doesn't like back-to-the-basket guys who play your traditional center as a 7-1 guy. Yeah. That's just not what he likes and how he utilizes them the best. So if it's like, hey, can I handle the coaching style? Well, he's used to it of sorts. It's just the opportunity is golden for Booker. Sure. Whether he can jive with Cronin, whether he can play defense well enough. Can he score? The offense doesn't need to score around the big man, at least with how Mick Cronin runs the offense. It's just a unique filling of an opening for UCLA as a center. But we'll find out. It's a perplexing situation. But I think Booker, that's a great opportunity.
It certainly does. I hope it works out for him, of course, except for the time you guys come to Breslin Center and we play you. But outside of that, the other 29 games, I hope it works out for him. No ill will. I didn't hear really any bad things about him. So, yeah, hopefully it does work out in his next chapter of college basketball. But, Zach, next time we talk, we're actually going to get into nitty-gritty. We're going to have answers to a lot of the questions that we have here in the fall. But until then, guys, hey, it's Matt Sheehan over here, Locked On Spartans. Over there, Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer. Over there, Locked On UCLA. Now, guys, take care of yourselves.